They drained the pool last week. A county decision, budget cuts or inspections, or some form of damage control. All I know is that the signs went up Monday morning. Yellow tape all around the chain link fencing. Big, bold red letters that read, "Do not enter. Hazardous conditions." A few of us still circled the place, half out of boredom, mostly out of that strange whispered curiosity people feel when public spaces get suddenly forbidden. Eric swore it was leaking, that his cousin knew someone who worked maintenance and said the filters had been pulling stuff out. Weird stuff, chunks of dark thread, something that looked like a plastic glove, but when you touched it, it crumbled like old seaweed. Something moved in the pipes, he said. I laughed it off at the time. Pool rumors are kind of a thing in my town. Chlorine hallucinations, childhood tragedies, shadowy sinkholes. It's all part of growing up somewhere, with very little to actually do. But I guess it stuck with me more than I thought. Because that first night after the tape went up, I dreamed about it. Not the pool. Not exactly. It was the way the tiles glistened under flickering lights, the sound of water pushing against the drain when no one else was around. I think the scariest part was the clock up on the wall above the lifeguard chair. It wasn't ticking, it wasn't moving, but it was counting down. I woke up sweating. Guess I should probably go back a bit. My relationship with the pool is complicated. I nearly drowned there when I was 7. Not in some dramatic hours before rescue sort of way, just the plain old kind of drowning. Backstroke into the deep end. Panic. Water in my lungs. Everything after the first 30 seconds blurs together. Just a warm, crushing silence and the vague sense that everyone above me was shouting. They pulled me out. EMTs cleared me. I was fine. Physically, anyway. But I couldn't look at water the same way after that. I still don't like being in it if I can't see the bottom. Lakes are out. Deep ends are out. Bathtubs? Only with the drain open and music playing. So you'd think out of everyone, I'd be the last person hanging around a sealed-off pool at midnight. And yet, here I was. Eric had called me around 10:30. Said he was biking over. Wanted to check it out before they started real construction. 2 other kids were going. I kept asking him why. Why now? Why after all the things he said about the water being off? He just laughed and told me to chill. I just want to see, he said. We're not going to skinny dip or summon a demon. It's just a pool. It's probably fine now that it's drained. But if it's not... Small-town thrill-seeking logic. If it's not fine, that somehow only made it cooler. I said no twice before eventually saying, "Whatever, I'll go for 5 minutes." That was a lie, of course. I was already half-dressed and finding my flashlight before we hung up. When I arrived, the others were already crouched behind the fence. One of them, Caleb, I think, had snipped a hole between the metal squares wide enough to crawl through. They'd brought a GoPro, one of those cheap off-brand ones, mounted on a head strap. That gave me a weird feeling I couldn't quite shake. Like they weren't just curious. Like they were documenting. "Put this on," Eric said, handing me the strap. I waved him off. "You wear it." "I've already done this," he smirked. "I dare you." I didn't want to be dared. That part of my life was supposed to be over. The reckless, easily manipulated kid, desperate to impress people who'd forget my name by the time we graduated. But something about his grin ticked me off, so I took the camera and strapped it on. 5 minutes, I said again, more to myself than them. Climbing down into an empty pool is harder than it looks. Even without water, everything echoes. The hollow walls, the dripping from the distant pipes, the occasional creak overhead from the wind, bending the tarp they'd half torn off. That sound, the crinkling of plastic against cold air, sent a chill beneath my shirt. We walked the perimeter. Lots of leaves, a few crushed soda cans, rust-colored runoffs where the pumps used to spit chlorine. There were maybe 3 feet of water still gathered in the center, dark and still, like it hadn't been moved in days. It was shallow, sure, but you couldn't see the bottom. Caleb tossed a branch into it. It didn't splash. It sank. Not like a slow drift to the submerged surface either. It vanished straight down like someone pulled it by a string. Caleb froze. All of us did. "Dude, what the hell?" Eric leaned in toward the edge. Maybe there's a suction, but none of the drains were exposed. And even if there had been suction, it wouldn't have pulled that solid piece into total invisibility like that. That branch was nearly 2 feet long. Where the hell did it go? "I'm not going near that," I said. And that's when we heard it. A faint slosh. Then nothing. Then like waiting, something adjusting its weight. Eric looked at me. "It's still there," I said. "What?" "The water. I saw it. Something moved." Caleb backed up. The others, for the first time, looked worried. "There's no animals that could have..." "You don't think raccoon or..." "Raccoons don't pull branches under the surface. Raccoons don't wait underwater without breathing for a full minute." Another splash, this one bigger, closer, followed by a low, rhythmic ripple that circled the dark puddle in the center. "It's waiting in there," I said. That should have been the moment we left. That was the out. But none of us moved. I think that's how it works. This thing. I think it waits, wears you down, warps your instincts, makes your eyes forget what they're looking at, so your brain can't make sense of it. The water moved again, just a tiny motion, like someone brushing against it on their way toward us. "Guys," movement. I don't mean a ripple this time. Halfway across the puddle, something rose. Not fast, not in a violent lurch. Just slow, deliberate. A shape. Not big. Not at first. Like it didn't want to show itself fully. It just broke the surface in one long shimmer, liquid peeling back like skin from a head. Its surface reflected nothing. The way light hits raw oil, or the inside of an insect's shell. A glistening, muscle-like shimmer pulled backward to reveal a long, flat curve. Was it a back? It shifted again. The others gasped. Before I could say anything else, it turned and blinked. It blinked. Twice. Once in a vertical slit, then again beneath the outer membrane, as if it had 2 sets of lids for 2 separate visions. One for us, and one for whatever else it saw. No one screamed. I don't think we could. There's a kind of fear that short-circuits your brain. Not the monster in the closet kind. Not the thrill of horror movies. But the type rooted so deep in your bones that your body decides silence is the only way to survive. Like if you're quiet enough, the threat might forget you're real. We stood paralyzed on the sloped concrete, staring down into the section of the pool where the water, if it even was water, shivered beneath that thing's shape. And it was a shape now, not formless, not an illusion. It was rising, segment by segment. That oily shimmer pulled tighter in the dim light. Behind me, Caleb whispered, "Oh my God. Oh my God." But I couldn't look away. Not even when another part of it surfaced, thin like a ribbon, curling in elegant motion toward the shallow end. Somewhere below that black mass, pipes groaned. The smell changed. It didn't smell like chlorine anymore. It smelled like iron. No, not quite iron. like something torn open underwater. That haze you get when metal rusts near old blood. It hit my tongue like static. You know what's worse than a rotten smell? A smell your brain recognizes as alive. Whatever it wasn't just occupying the water. It was the water. Eric finally whispered, "Back up." No one moved. He reached for my shoulder with a trembling hand. Back, slowly. The deeper end was closest to the dark puddle, so we turned inward, facing that seething black reflection as we crept backward up the incline. Every step echoed with aching slowness. Then, clang. Caleb's foot slammed into an overturned maintenance rod. It rolled down, spiraling through leaf muck and bouncing over cracked tile before striking the water's edge. A splash! The creature jerked. For the first time, it registered us. I don't mean in the animal sense. It looked at us. It saw. And when it moved, God, it moved. That docile, floating mass twisted into velocity. Water shrieked as the upper half swung wide, smashing into the wall, sending a spray across the empty basin. Chunks of tile shattered. A section of the old rail popped free. Caleb fell backward, scrambling up the concrete, screaming now. Eric shoved me hard. "Run!" And I did. Whatever dignity I had left vanished the moment I broke into full sprint up the slippery incline, scraping my hands on the edge as I pulled myself toward the ladder. Eric was behind me. Then Caleb, yelling nonsense, too winded for words. The final step up felt like crawling from a nightmare. We vaulted the fence. Barely. It came after us, not over the rim, but around it. Something enormous pressed against the concrete from beneath. We felt it in our bones, a low humming tremor, like subway trains running under flesh. The puddle surged outward, flooding the lower dip, and the plastic tarp wilted down, dragged into a whirlpool that now pulsed with incredible force. "It's trying to get out," Caleb sobbed. "Holy it's climbing." "No," Eric said, pointing. "It's spreading." He was right. The black liquid poured from the drain lines, not just back into the pool, but through the pipes, parallel to the concrete, toward the ground. "I think it's in the plumbing," I said, barely recognizing my own voice. Caleb backed away, collapsed near the bikes. "I'm not sleeping ever again." We didn't speak much after that. We went home. We left the fence with nothing but that footage, shaking in a cheap little GoPro, and the feeling that we weren't supposed to have seen that we didn't get away. Not really. Because from that night forward, the dreams started layering. Deeper. Louder. Hers wasn't the first voice I heard. It started with sound. Wet claws tapping against tile. Scraping metal through hollow gaps. At first I thought my ears were ringing during storms or bad sleep. But it wasn't me. It wasn't in me. It was outside. Sliding behind walls, dripping into basements, running loops in my drain. Tick, 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 tick. It escalated within days. One morning I walked into the kitchen and found a puddle in the sink. I live alone. I hadn't used it all night. The water was clean, clear, but too still, too thick. I reached for the faucet halfway, then froze. I swore. God, I swore. I saw pressure against the base of the drain. A shape tensing just below the silver ring, like muscle tracking me. I turned on the hot water and ran like hell across the room. Eric was no better off. He told me on the second night there was blood in his shower floor. Not his. Formless. His pipes hissed when no water was on. He unscrewed the drain cover, and found, get this, skin. Not hair. Not globs of product. Skin. Wet, folded tissue curled up like shrimp peel. We had to go back. If it was stalking us, through pipes, through water systems, then we needed something from it. An answer. A threat. Proof. Anything. We figured we'd outsmart the real problem and burn the thing away while it was weak. So we went back. 3 nights later. Pool still closed. Guards were posted now. Motion lights. Nothing major. Small town defenses, the kind you can walk past if you know how to stick to shadows. We crawled in from the north side, eased down the hill, and came into view of the pool deck again. And this time, it was already waiting. Water shouldn't ripple without motion, but it was swaying slow, like breath underwater. The cracks in the tile had grown darker, like something seeped through from beneath and rotted the limestone. A soft light, faint pink and violet, blinked across the puddle, like a warning heartbeat. It wasn't glowing before. Now, it pulsed. We crept closer. Different segment now. The form didn't rise. Not fully. But a face formed. Not a human face. Not animal. And not there, technically. It was a suggestion of one. Features that made sense only if you weren't looking directly at them. A distortion, like heat waves over pavement, in the shape of a smile too wide and too far across the water. It flickered. It watched. And something spoke. Not in words, in sensation. A low burn pressed into my tongue, followed by a bitter, coppery sweetness like licking the inside of a battery terminal after biting your lip. Fresh, urgent, and wrong. I stumbled back and spat. Eric wasn't so lucky. His knees hit tile. Blood trickled from his nose. He touched his face and blinked slowly, unsteady, then said, "She's waking." "What?" I asked. "Don't you feel it?" He gripped his chest, like something was wrong inside him, like his lungs were shifting under pressure. "She knows we're watching her." I didn't ask him who. I just knew. We shouldn't have come back. The off-brand GoPro on my head was still running. And that was the only proof I had when I finally bolted out the gate, leaving Eric behind. I didn't see him disappear. I didn't stay long enough to know when he dropped off the grid entirely. But I watched the footage every night for a week. Up until the moment something behind the camera lifted its hand and unplugged the lens without touching it. And then, static. After Eric vanished, people acted like it didn't matter. His parents filed a missing person report. Cops put up flyers. A few classmates posted sad emojis next to slow-motion football photos. But no one really asked questions. No one peeled back the layers of what he'd been doing 2 nights before. I did. I couldn't not. Because I knew. I heard what that thing in the pool had whispered into my mouth without speaking. An infection. A concept. Like I'd swallowed a warning and now it was unfolding behind my eyes. Eric was never meant to leave once he heard her. And for whatever reason, I still could. Maybe I was immune. Maybe I was cursed. But I still had the footage, and now I had a mission. Find the water. You probably think I mean the pool. No. Something was happening to the water supply. The thing, that presence, had spread out beyond the basin. That pool was like a lung, and the pipes were veins. The town's entire plumbing system was compromised. People were waking up with headaches, red rings around their drains. School shut down the showers in the locker rooms, claiming mold buildup. But I knew better. She was growing. Everywhere. When I turned the faucet, it didn't splash anymore. It sighed. Drinking fountains tasted like static. Toilets pulsed at night. I smelled bleach where there wasn't any. Then people started acting weird. Little things first. Students humming the same melody in different parts of school, even if they didn't know each other. A teacher I trusted suddenly canceling a quiz and leading the class in some weird reflective breathing session. Not wellness, not yoga, just syncopated inhale, exhale, repeat, for 40 minutes. Afterwards, no one remembered. I walked out drenched in sweat. They were preparing for her. Word spread in whispers. Some people called her the drain wife, others, daughter below. I heard one name under someone's breath that didn't even sound pronounceable, more like trying to speak underwater. Whatever she wasn't satisfied anymore whispering through pipes. She wanted followers. By the third week, about 24 kids had been claimed. You could tell by the way they moved. Fluid, almost dreamlike. They stopped blinking as often. One of them, Caleb, started showing up at school with his hoodie on backwards, claiming it made him more open to her. I didn't argue. By then, I was acting unwatched. One girl, Jenny Reyes. She went missing too. They found her phone in the pool bleachers, still unlocked, mid-recording. The last frame showed her looking toward the water, whispering, "She sees me now." Then the phone cuts off. No shriek, no splash, just static. I stopped drinking tap completely, stopped brushing my teeth, bottled water only, boiled everything. I searched forums, paranormal threads, creepypasta hubs, obscure wikis, for mentions of creatures that use taste to infect people. Some said sirens. Some said water spirits. One user sent me an encrypted file titled kulksi.mkvsu. It was a 60-second video of someone lowering a bucket into a deep stone well while chanting. Not in English, but the sound matched what I'd heard in my dreams. The bucket comes up empty until it fills from within. I didn't sleep after that. The dreams became petitions. A woman made entirely of liquid, lips like wet tendrils, eyes blinking without lids, would rise from a blackened faucet and press herself against my chest. She never entered my mouth. She tried, but something stopped her, like a force field over my taste buds. I always woke up choking on ice water. Then, the city announced a pool reopening date. Not because everything was fine, because they wanted people back. They sent out a mailer, printed in color. Grand reopening of the North Grove Recreation Center. Come dive in. What color do you think they used for the font? Violet. Everything in me screamed no, and yet I couldn't ignore it. If they were truly cultivating a following, if whoever she was had taken hold of the infrastructure, this might be the only time to stop it before something permanent happened. I had no plan. I had no weapons. All I had was footage no one believed and whatever weird resistance I had inside me. So I went. I timed it, showed up late, after closing. The pool gate was unlocked. The water glistened. Music from an unseen speaker echoed across the deck. Something slow, like a lullaby, distorted through AM radio. I crept around the fence line, staying low, eyes scanning for staff or guards. Then I saw them. The gathered. They weren't swimming. They were listening. Dozens of students and adults stood waist-deep in still water, never moving, never speaking, facing the deep end, like they were watching a screen only they could see. Water rippled the same direction, even without wind. Some were chanting again, that same wordless drone. They swayed in sync. The water swayed with them. She was close now, not invisible, not subtle. She came out, full-bodied. I don't know how to describe her with honesty. She didn't take a shape. She projected one. Different things to different people. The boy in front of me dropped to his knees, crying. "Mom," he whispered. A girl to my left sighed. "You're real," like she'd found her soulmate. But when her gaze passed over me, her smile broke. Not because she was angry, because she was confused. I didn't see her the way they did. I only saw the outline, the writhing torso, the lengths of liquid coiling like intestines in a carousel, segments, arms too long, fingers too webbed. Her shape shimmered like dragonfly wings, dipped in blood. And I whispered, "I never swallowed it." The silence cracked. She turned. All the others stopped chanting. She stepped forward, and all across the still water, the chant turned into a scream. Dozens of them, mouths opening far too wide, fingers locking around each other like she was inside them now, puppeting them in fear or rage. I didn't know. She stared at me. No, into me. And she asked, not with words, but with taste and texture, "Why?" I didn't know what to say. My mouth burned with copper, my teeth tingling like I'd bitten tinfoil. I shook, trying to speak. "I can't taste you," I gasped. "You can't get inside me." She moved faster this time, and the pool surged. Water that shouldn't hold momentum curled upward, forming a wall of force that slammed towards me across wet tile and dragging vines. I braced for it, but it collapsed just short of skin. I was soaked, not consumed. She couldn't touch me through taste. So she listened instead. She leaned in, those hundreds of segmented limbs coiling around the waterline, her near-headless neck arching in question. No words, only, "What do you want?" And I surprised myself. I said, without thinking, "Let him go. Let him go." The words came out without a plan. No threat, no leverage, just instinct, the kind you can't rehearse. And for a moment, everything froze. She didn't respond the way a monster did. You should. No lunge, no fury, just stillness. A ripple that hung in place like it was afraid to fall. She studied me then, as if realizing, maybe for the first time, there was something in me she couldn't break open. Some wall she couldn't leak through or drown past. My tongue was useless to her. That old drowning accident, the one I'd hated my whole life, had made me immune. I was the only one here who couldn't feel her how she wanted. No euphoric lullaby, no illusion. Just the raw, writhing truth of what she really was. From behind me, I heard a cough. Wet, sharp. Eric. He was on the edge of the shallow end, barefoot, wheezing. His eyes were glassy and his skin had taken on a faint purplish sheen, like he'd spent too much time too far under. He didn't speak. He couldn't. But he reached a hand toward me like he remembered, like some part of him was still in there. "She's keeping him," I said, louder this time. "She changed him, but I know he's still—" She interrupted. Not with violence, not even with recoil. She sank. And in doing so, every single atom of water obeyed her descent. It was like watching a queen retreat from her throne, not in fear, but in recognition. She slid backward, leaving a wake of churned sediment now floating on the surface. those around her didn't see this as defeat. They followed her. They stepped deeper, one by one, submerging to their necks with blank smiles. My classmates, adults, a few kids I recognized from the neighborhood. All of them walked willingly into that black luster, hypnotized in spite of the burn in the air and the reek of metal. But Eric, he stayed at the edge, crying now. Whatever she had done, she had let go, or tried to. And then, it happened all at once. The lights cut, the pool's submerged glow vanished, and something snapped behind me. Footsteps, heavy ones, multiple sets, rushing in from both exits at once. Security? Maybe. But they weren't stopping her. They were... No. They were ushering. Quietly. Like wrangling sheep. I grabbed Eric without a word. He collapsed against me, dead weight, trembling violently. "You're okay," I lied. I pulled him over the rail, dragging him back toward the gate as quietly and quickly as I could. No one stopped us. No one chased us. Behind us, I glanced one last time at the pool. She was still conscious in the water, still watching. But she'd made her decision, and it wasn't to kill me, it was to keep going. We fled. When we surfaced in the parking lot, the night was oppressively quiet. No late traffic, no wind. Even the crickets had gone silent. I laid Eric down on the pavement and checked his pulse. Shallow, but there. No blood, just thick violet saliva in the corners of his mouth. Like she hadn't finished whatever she'd started. She almost did, but didn't. In the days that followed, people forgot. Not everyone, but most. The pool was scheduled for seasonal closure 2 days later. The papers printed a line about low attendance. There was no mention of the night I saw nearly 40 people sink into the dark. No mention of Jenny Reyes, or Caleb, or the teachers helping them in. It was like none of it had happened, but I knew better. Eric never fully came back. He walked. He breathed. He even smiled occasionally. But he didn't speak anymore. Not really. He just sat on his porch, tracing shapes in the condensation on his water glass over and over again as it collected dust untouched. As for me, I stopped drinking from faucets. I stopped going near pools. But I started listening, because ever so often, when I pass an open drain, I hear her, not feeding, not hunting, whispering, still asking, "Why can't I reach you?" And lately, I've started whispering back, because the part of me that escaped, it didn't escape clean. I feel her when I'm sick, when I sleep, when I take a shower with the bathroom fan off and the mirror starts to fog. That old voice, slippery against the inside of my skull, asking me things I can't translate, trying new tones, new frequencies, like she's experimenting. And I think she's learning, not how to infect me, but how to speak through me. So if I'm quiet now, if I don't come to school, if I don't return your messages, don't call it grief. Don't call it trauma. Don't even call it madness. Just ask yourself, when the sink starts to hum, when the pool lights flicker, when something shifts in the drain and your mouth tastes copper for no reason, do you feel watched? Because if you do, get out. Immediately. Or, like so many others before you, you'll stay under. And you won't even remember drowning. It's been 6 weeks since I walked away from the pool with Eric's arm slung over my shoulder and a voice in my head I swore never belonged to me. But it's not over. It didn't end when the signs came down, or when they drained the remains of the water. They never sealed the pipes, never tore up the filtration system like they should have. No chemical flush, no demolition, just plywood and excuses. They smothered the truth with bureaucracy, as if that's ever been enough to kill something ancient, especially something that's still listening. Because she is. She didn't die. She adapted. I went back last night. Not close. Not in-sit. Just near. The pool's been filled with dirt now. Officially a wildlife garden project for the school. Cute, right? But when I walk by in the dark, the soil hums. The air around it feels metallic. My tongue buzzes if I speak near the gates. And the ground, it's always damp, even when it hasn't rained in days. I watched a cat wander too close. It sat on the old drain cap, still visible at the edge of the garden. It didn't move again. The footage never made it online. Every time I tried, some part of the file corrupted. Not in a normal way. No missing data blocks, no virus triggers, just erased, as if she could feel the attempt and sank her fingers into the line. Even right now, typing this, the screen glitches. My phone heats up. That might be her too. I don't know how far this reaches, how many others she's tried to attach herself to, but I know this. It's spreading. And if she learned how to find me, to taste, prove, silent me, then she's probably learning how to find others like me. People with broken pathways, neurological scars, chemical differences, missing senses. Anyone she can't influence, she'll try to understand. Or discard. So now, I live in the space between threats. Not chosen. Not safe. Just still breathing. I've taped all my drains, shower in silence, and pour salt into the kitchen sink every night before bed. She doesn't like salt. It's small, stupid, barely delays her. But it's something. Eric doesn't speak at all these days. He draws with blue chalk. Always circles. Always with little arms reaching out. Sometimes he'll blink real slow, look at me and say, "She hasn't forgotten you." And I believe him. So please, if you hear whispers in your pipes, if your reflection looks too long at you, if your shower runs cold even when it shouldn't, if your mouth tastes like blood, or metal, or violet, don't ignore it, because she's not gone. She's just waiting, and the next time you see something move in the pool, don't scream, don't videotape it, don't investigate, just run, and never look back.